and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Hey, Cenk Uygur. Hey, Justice Democrats. Hey, AOC. Hey, all these progressives that were carrying water for Bernie Sanders. I guess, hey, Jimmy Dore was right the whole time about Bernie just being a nutless wonder and really giving away all of his principles. So here, I want to pull this up here. This is a tweet, and I know a lot of people. I'd be surprised if a lot of our colleagues in social media are not talking about this. Bernie abandoned his own movement to shill for the establishment war machine. Turns out he really was there to funnel progressives into a pro-war, pro-Wall Street, anti-worker party. He gladly did that twice. There's no excuse for this. The biggest political disappointment of my life. What is he talking about? Well, there's a tweet here from Glenn Greenwald. Bernie Sanders condemns the House Progressives' original letter on Ukraine, says they were right to apologize for it, and then retracted because it should never been issued at all. Proceeds to recite Marco Rubio and Tom Cotton's views on Ukraine. What's happening here? What is happening? Well, here's an article from Jimmy Dore's greatest admirer, David Weigel. Let's pull this up here right here for the people. Bernie Sanders, House progressives were wrong on Ukraine. So, the Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders said Tuesday that the Russian invasion of Ukraine has to be resisted, and the Congressional Progressive Caucus was right to withdraw their letter, and they blamed it on their staffers. That urged President Biden to negotiate an end to the war with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, here's the thing. I'm all for dialogue because this conflict in Ukraine is nightmarish enough. Plus, last I checked, Russia does have access to nukes and other weapons of mass destruction. So I think at this point, what's wrong with dialogue? We don't want things to go too crazy because then we got mushroom clouds in the sky. I don't agree with that, and they don't agree with it. Apparently, Sanders told Semaphore on a phone interview. It was withdrawn today, so it becomes a non-issue. Sanders, who is launching a multi-state midterm campaign swing to help Democrats in tough races, remained committed to supporting Ukraine from a major power invading and causing mass destruction. He dismissed the claim from some candidates and some protesters who have called progressive members of Congress warmongers over their votes to fund Ukraine's counteroffensive. Then again, I have to say, we are certainly crapping out a lot of money, $80 billion so far, I think, and rising. I mean, they're able to find that money quick. Democrats warmongers, said Sanders, when you have Putin breaking all kinds of international laws, unleashing an incredibly disgusting and horrific level of destruction against the people of Ukraine. Again, I have to say, let's look at United States records. I mean, come on.
This is the at least a couple dozen pots calling another kettle black.
Exactly. Sanders did not want to delve much further into the subject. He was focused on sharpening the Democrats' economic message, which is none, because Nancy Pelosi says let's deflect and not talk about inflation in media interviews, and his upcoming tour. But the CPC's letter highlighting divisions on the left that have played out in campaigns around the country, even as elected Democrats had largely presented a united front on Ukraine until this week. Now, here's the thing. Again, she's a former representative. And once again, Daniel, we kind of have to go to bat for her because the thing is she's a private individual, but she's living rent-free in people's mind. Former Representative Tulsi Gabbard's departure from the Democratic Party and her media tour, where she's accused Ukraine of funding and actually pushing us to the brink of nuclear holocaust, have been embraced by Republicans who want to end that funding if the party wins control of Congress. Now, look, this war is political, right? When the Republicans go to war or have a military intervention, the Democrats are against it. When the Democrats do it, the Republicans do it. Now, here's the thing. This conflict in Ukraine is different because right now we're going toe-to-toe with another power that has the same kind of weapons and destruction we do as a country. Now, this has got to be stopped. Now, if there's going to be groups of people who want to stop this war from happening, so be it. The same thing happened when Obama was trying to escalate the conflict in Syria. There was a pushback from him, some remnants of what remained of the anti-war movement. But where are all these people who were, again, scared that we were going to go into ongoing war? Are they still at brunch? Because it's really starting to get concerning. Daniel.
Yeah, okay, so one thing I think that a distinction I would make, if they're like, what's the minimum distinction that we could make is I would like it if the Democrats went from a bloodlust on this topic to cautious preservation, even if the actions were similar, because the tone at least is just, to your point, very important because the Democrats are anti-war until they're not. When they're in power, they're super pro-war, invade everything, go everywhere. Hey, how dare you? We're gonna cancel you for having a different opinion than us on a war. And what are Republicans doing? What are both sides doing? What are both sides not doing? truly caring about the outcome of the war. They're just happy to make money off of it. And if the Democrats are for, Republicans are against it. I literally have an article I'm going to be covering a little bit later on that exact topic. They don't care about Ukraine. Ukraine has never been something they've cared about. Ukraine until it was found to have oil. And they realized they could sort of use it to replace Russia's wheat and oil exports for many years. And the fact that, all the people in Congress were in power, many of them before the Cold War even started. And almost all of them were alive in their adults way before it started. So they've just absorbed all of that lifetime of propaganda. And here we are watching a predictable series of events take place in a predictable way. And even then, no one's really taking it that seriously, except to say, my point is morally superior, and if you disagree, you are evil. And you can go into like, okay, well, what do we do? Like, you know what you could do? You could start peace negotiations, and if the terms aren't good, don't agree to them. But this unconditional nature of this conflict is just historically not good. I cared a lot more about how they're acting than what they're doing in this respect.
I also want to pull this up here too, because again, if you missed out on yesterday's show, I talked about this with my colleague Jerry Vassilatos. Tulsi Gabbard, she acknowledged, hey, this is one of the main reasons I left the Democratic Party. It's completely controlled by an elite cabal of warmongers. Any Democrat who opposes their warmongering agenda is beat into submission. Sadly, to vote Democrat is a vote for war and more war, possibly again. Yeah. So there we go. And again, it has to deal with the fact that how you had 30 Congressional Progressive Caucus members withdraw their letter. And again, you have Representative Pramila Jayapal, who decides to, guess what? Blame the staff, blame the help. I also want to pull up this tweet as well. And I think it's only fair that we do talk about it. Because, again, here you have a sitting president. Biden/warmongers say it would be immoral to open negotiations with Putin and Russia. Why? Why, Democrats?
Calling peace is what immoral, evil people. Remember Hitler? Remember all those peace talks he tried to start? That ass.
But Biden says he would be happy to talk to Putin to discuss freeing famous American basketball star from a Russian prison. So here's the thing. Look, I'm sorry that athlete is behind bars. I truly am. I am very, very sorry that she has to go through that.
And she's there for political reasons.
Right. But I think it's more important for us to have diplomatic talks immediately, because last I checked, even during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the American government and the Soviet government were talking to each other, having dialogue. Okay. And throughout the entire Cold War.
Well, they were monsters, both countries, according to the current country. So.
Yeah. According to the current thing. So here's the thing. Obviously, I'm not going to post it up here on our show because it's a waste of time, because that's a whole other segment altogether. But Cenk Uygur is kind of having himself a little meltdown on Twitter, talking about how the Democrats are a disaster and how now he infamously tweeted out how bad it is to try and reform the Democrats from within. I mean, here, you know what? I'm actually going to show it to you guys, just out of curiosity, just so you guys know what I'm talking about, because it's such an asinine statement. Because I remember throughout all of the 2016 and going into again this election cycle and previous election cycles, Cenk was always promoting, hey, you got to vote Democrat. We got to vote Democrat. We got to vote Democrat. So here, I want to pull this up here for our audience. It's not in the show notes, but you have to see it, okay? I think it's just very fundamentally important that we talk about it. So here, once again, here's what I'm saying for the Harlan's media account. Once again, Jimmy Dore was correct. Cenk promoted Justice Democrats as a way to perform and work within the Democratic Party. Turns out it was always a waste of time. I would let the bear eat me and challenge it from within. There's Justice Democrats. There's the Democratic Party. So what's going on here? Bernie and Bass believe working within the Democratic Party system. And what has that gotten us? Nearly nothing. Just wall-to-wall corruption. Bernie said his friend Joe Biden would get his $15 minimum wage and much more. His friend screwed us, and he didn't say a word about it. And here's the thing, Cenk. Here's the thing, Cenk. Don't waste your time with the Justice Democrats. So you want to listen to a voice who speaks truth to power? Here's a good friend of the show, Sabrina, speaking the truth about don't waste your time with the Justice Democrats.
So you withdraw a letter because a Republican agreed to the same thing you did? That Democrats who have strongly and unanimously supported and voted for every package of military, strategic, and economic assistance, I told you it wasn't just weapons, to the Ukrainian people are somehow aligned with Republicans who seek to pull the plug on American support for President Zelensky and the Ukrainian forces. This woman worried about optics. She's more concerned about how does it make us look that we agree with the Republican on this issue. So let's pull the letter. Everything I just revealed to you about AOC funding these corporate CIA Democrats with their own damn PAC. This is all a psyop. This is fake. They're not real. These people are not really progressives. They took people's money. They took your money. They took people's time canvassing for them. These people are never going to deliver for us. This is a joke. And I want to let you know, yes, I've been heavily critical of the squad, but I'm not the only one calling this shit out today. They played people. All of us should call them out. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care if it's Jimmy Dore. I don't care if it's Crystal Ball. Every single person that is on the left should be calling their asses out. We see the problem, but what do we do? They're already in office now, but they'll be up for re-election again. And if they're in your district, don't fucking vote for them. Encourage actual working class people in your district to primary the fuck out of them. And if none of them are in your district, I highly recommend, this is Justice Democrats' website. Their contact information is right here.
Hold on, I'm going to pause that just so y'all could see that. There you go. And you can find that info. There we go. So, if you want to contact them, tell them how you really feel. Because be polite. Be polite. Come on, audience. You can be a little polite. Don't be rude. Says like AOC
right here.
says.
You can contact Justice Democrats and tell Justice Democrats to remove every single member of the squad off their fucking website and from their organization. Take them off. Take them off the goddamn site. They're not Justice Democrats. They don't stand for any fucking justice. Call them. Email them. Tell them they don't even uphold to these progressive policies anymore. And you can use that letter, that retraction letter, as your evidence as to why they need to be removed. They're not supposed to be supporting war. I went through the principles, God damn it. I know what they're supposed to be doing. Call them. Let them know. And you can tell them I sent you. I give zero fucks. I really do at this point.
Shout out to Sabrina, but Sabrina, you're being rude. Quoting
being violent. No, did you see the quote I wrote in a chat that's definitely from AOC?
Oh, hold on. Let me go see it.
See if you can
Hold on.
Tell me what you think of it. I think it's spot on, represents the whole situation.
I gotta find it. Dan.
I just put it on like a minute ago.
You just put it on like a minute ago? All right. I'll have to see it.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. I mean, I know what it says. I wrote it. I just want to see what you see if you see the same thing I do doing this.
Okay. Hold on. I gotta go see if I could find.
It's not that far up. It's like 30 comments up.
And
you'll see my wrench. It's next to
I know. I'm looking for the wrench. Oh my goodness.
It's taking longer than I ever expected.
I know. I'm trying. Oh, there it is. There we go.
Yeah.
Daniel Lupker. Calling for peace is an act of violence. AOC, probably. AOC.
We need to do a shirt. I mean, if we don't really have enough people to do merch, but if we did, I would love to put that on a shirt with AOC's face on it and just see if they get upset at us.
Daniel, you're being rude. You're being so rude right now.
Maybe a little
violent. Yeah. So at the end of the day, Sabrina speaking truth to power. Jank's probably gonna have a meltdown. Jank, do yourself a favor. Don't watch the midterms on election night. And then, hey, Bernie, what's it like throwing the entire progressive anti-war movement, or the remained of it, or supposedly of it, in the Congressional Progressive Caucus underneath the bus? Hey, Pramila Jayapal, why are you blaming your staffers on a letter that you wrote months ago? Gee, you left it out there conveniently. Were you trying to quote unquote test the waters and worried about some kind of blowback? It shows that once again, progressives have zero spine. And if you're in the Democratic Party, you're wasting everybody's time.
Here's the other thing about that. So they've had that out there for a while. Okay, so I guess two angles on this. This goes to show that so many people are so unprincipled in their actions, and they've not set themselves up for success. When we said, "Hey, we should have health care," Cenk Uygur and TYT and a bunch of other places said, "You morons, how dare you ever try to force an issue like this? This is going to work itself out in other ways, just like the $15 minimum wage was going to work itself out. Just like all the things that were supposed to happen with Bernie Sanders, just like all the concessions that were supposedly made by Joe Biden. Right now, the Democrats, the most fearful thing that the Democrats are looking at isn't the human toll and the human cost of a war in Ukraine. It's literally trying to not have the appearance of a red-brown alliance in their own wording. That's more important to them.
Wow. Dan, at this point, look, I'll be following the midterms, and here's the thing. I'm debating with myself. That's right. Kickabell is having a debate within my mind whether or not to really fully cover the midterms on election night. But there is a project that I'm doing just to see what the turnout will be. And I want to make sure I get all the data correct. But I know that Trump obviously endorsed people. Then you have your typical anti-Trump Republicans, corporate ones, who endorse their own candidates. And you have Bernie Sanders in a squad. And then, of course, you have corporate Democrats, too. Might as well put them all in one thing because the same people that the corporate Democrats are endorsing, Bernie Sanders and the squad, are doing that, too. And I'm also looking at people that were also endorsed by Tulsi Gabbard. And I want to see what the turnout will be. Obviously, midterms have low turnout. And who actually wins. And it's curious to see. I just wanted to see how bad the Democrats are going to lose. It's just an example that they have no principle. No one has been consistent. And I just can't help but look back in time when we started Heartland's Media, Daniel, when, all these kind of questions were beginning to surface about, well, can the progressive Democrats, can Bernie Sanders and the movement really follow through? And, I think you and I had some hope, especially in 2017, 2018, maybe a little bit of 2019. But then as time progressed, it just evaporated. And I'm just looking back at all the people that gave us such crap, saying like, hey, this is happening. Look out. You guys are walking into disaster. I wonder where are they at now?
Yeah, it turns out the U.S. is pretty straightforward. I mean, honestly, you just got to know a few things. You got to understand the rules for rulers. And all of these decisions basically play out the exact way you'd expect. It wouldn't even be fair to gamble on a lot of how these issues play out because they're so obvious.
Yeah. And,
we understand everyone's point of view. This is not the amount of places I've heard say that we're in a war that Russia just out of nowhere decided to mobilize their. It's I don't agree with Russia going into Ukraine, but I also think that it's absurd to say that this wasn't made to happen.
Exactly. Thank you, Daniel, for that.
Go ahead. I just wish that they weren't so full of bloodlust. That's sort of what gets me. I wish at least they had a false demeanor of, man, we're really upset all these people are dying. Really don't want to have to engage in the military-industrial complex. I'm a Justice Democrat. It's not what I stand for, but I got to be there for the people of Ukraine. And they got just something like that instead of what we've been getting, which is just so transparently pro-war. And it's just this flip back and forth. Whoever's president determines what the side thinks of war. It's not real. If Trump was in office right now and the exact same situation was happening, Democrats right now would be, how dare you do this war? Why aren't you doing mediation? This is crazy. Why are we not talking to Russia more about this? They're just picking a color and they're doing the opposite of what the other one does. That's all that's happening, and it's displeasing, to say the least.
Yeah. I think as a final note, hey, Cenk, Jimmy Dore was right.
Yeah. Cenk, you know what Cenk really hates? Medicare for all being fought for. You know what Cenk really likes? Letting war happen as a consequence.
Yeah.
But not fighting.
Yeah, that's the truth, folks. Simple as that.